in Soda Springs?
We used that old car for a truck because we didn't have a truck. And Uncle Loyal and I, we would use it to, part of the farm was 20 miles from town, so we used that to get back and forth. And it's interesting, when he got married the year after we did. So, anyway, we're 20 miles from town, and half of the road is just an old dirt road.
Gravel road, I guess you'd say.
Anyway, so they just got married, so they're sleeping in a sheep camp. You know what a sheep camp is? A covered wagon. You know what a covered wagon is?
No, I don't. What's a sheep camp?
You know what a covered wagon is?
Pretty much.
That the early members of the church came across the plains. They had covered wagons.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's what a sheep camp is.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, it's a wagon with canvas for a roof, for,
Okay.
over the top.
And usually there's a canvas on the inside of the slats and one on the outside, so you've got a double layer of canvas over your head.
Anyway,
But there's no
I'll try to
insulation.
describe the camp. Inside, there's a little stove that's about that wide
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
that I'm sorry.
You're good. Go ahead.
You stuff wood in to burn because you have a wood stove. And I guess you could burn coal if you had some coal. But anyway, so they were living out there 20 miles from town in this sheep camp, and they had to go to town periodically to get groceries.
Mm-hmm.
And we only had one transportation vehicle. So I was living in town, they were living out 20 miles from town in the sheep camp.
And you were working together.
We were working the farm together. We would work, usually the way we did was, one of us we'd work 12-hour shifts on the
Usually.
tractor.
He worked from midnight till
Well, this was later
noon.
on. I can't remember what the shift,
And Loyal's was usually from noon till midnight.
well,
Because
that was
my
later.
husband got up earlier.
Ah.
But anyway, so they're living in the sheep camp, and I drive out to work, and that's the only transportation we have between the two of us, two families. So it's my turn to work on the tractor. So I get on the tractor and start to work. Loyal says, well, we need some groceries, we need to go to town, so we take the vehicle and go to town. So they took the vehicle, went to town, I was working. Well, it started to rain,
No.
and it rained, and it rained, and it rained. And the ground got wet, and they were in town and tried to come back out. Well, they did come out, but the road was so muddy, they had a hard time, but they finally got out there. And they says, there's no way you can get back to town. The road is
A mud mess.
impassable.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am, newlyweds, living in the sheep camp, and the bed in the sheep camp is
About that wide.
no, it's a little
Wow.
wider than that.
But it's
not
a
big.
square bed.
It's just
Square.
barely big enough for two people to
Wow.
lay on, and here I am. So they said they're newlyweds. They said, well, you'll have to sleep in the bed with us.
What?
So I
That's
tried it
awkward.
the first night. Of course, they slept in the back, and I had about that much room.
Jeez.
And I fought all night. I didn't hardly sleep any. Fought all night trying to hang on to the edge of the bed.
Oh.
Sort of embarrassing situation.
But the beds then weren't as bad
Okay,
as when I was
next
a
to
kid.
the bed, there's a cupboard. I'll call it a cupboard. It's a little
A bench.
a bench about that wide, and down in the bench, down there in the hole is where you store your groceries and stuff like that. So, and it just kept raining. So there was no way to get to town.
You couldn't get away from those newlyweds.
I couldn't get away from the newlyweds.
Wow.
It was really awkward for me, and probably for them too. Anyway, I said, well, tonight I'm going to sleep on the bench. You can imagine. About that wide a bench I had to try to sleep on. And then, of course, it was no cushion. It was just hard. I had a quilt under me.
Mm-hmm. That's so funny, Grandpa. I don't know if I've heard that story before.
Anyway, so
Well, I have.
here we are. So one more night. The next night, I said, I don't care what the road is, I'm going to town. I've had it. So that's what I did.
Well, it was a gravel road, you know.
No, it wasn't gravel. Part of it was.
Part of it was gravel anyway.
Part of it was, but part of it wasn't. It was just a dirt road
There's mud.
out through the sagebrush.
Wow. Wow, wow.
Anyway, I got home.
I was glad to see him.
Finally.
Oh boy,
Mm.
that was just one experience.
Yep, you just have to know your man's alive. If he doesn't show up for a few days, he'll be back.
Have to have faith.
Mm-hmm. We didn't have cell phones and stuff
No
like
way
that.
to telephone.
Oh,
or
I've
anything
got
else,
so
you know, we
many
didn't
farm
have
stories that
telephones like they have
isn't
now.
funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many stories, Grandpa, that you have told that suddenly I'm like, wait, I haven't heard that one before, and I would love to hear every one of them.
One time we had our cattle, we finally ended up, we bought another, we were always expanding. We bought another place out right next to the government dam.
Didn't buy it, we leased it.
We leased it from the Indians. And we,
It's 30
we would,
miles from
after
town.
the harvest, we would take our cattle out and let them graze. The stubble around the lakefront was grass, pretty good pasture for a while. And I got a call that our cattle was in the neighbors. So I took, I can't even remember the names of my horses. Pepper.
Pepper. Isn't she the one that was a little bit fiery?
She was,
Yeah.
she was nervous about a lot of things, but she was a good horse. When I'd go hunting with her, I could shoot off of her.
Yeah, but you had to use the weight, didn't you? You shoot and then you throw the weight?
No.
Oh, that wasn't that horse?
No.
You
I
had-
could, as long as I didn't shoot over her head, I'd have to shoot off the side.
Mm-hmm.
She would stand, when I'd raise the
She'd
rifle
freeze.
up, she would freeze, just like that. Perfectly still. I could shoot off the side of her. She's gone, she's asleep. But that's okay.
Oh, well, I'm fighting it.
You know, let's
I know you are.
resume that story in just a second.